Hello, this is JJ Humphrey. We're glad to have you with us on Elephant in the Room, where we talk about what nobody else wants to talk about, what everybody else is scared to bring up. Today, I am pleased. Before we start, we got a great guest. We got Wayne Hill with us. Wayne, normally Bobby Cleveland's here with us, but today is Bobby's birthday. So, Bob, happy birthday. Glad you're celebrating. Bob just had knee surgery, so he's I'm docking his pay and he's not coming on today. So anyways, it's great to have you here. I appreciate your willingness to come on. Look forward. I know that you're doing great things in the state, trying to do stuff to get our party together, and we want to have an open and honest conversation with that. So Wayne, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what got you into where you're at, why you're interested in the political atmosphere, and why you feel the need to do the things that you're doing.
Representative Humphreys, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation to come onto your program. First of all, back in the 80s, I was involved with the Republican Party, raising a family, 5 kids, married 46 years. I started forming my worldview back then and seeing what really was going on in the world, in our society. And what I realized is that our nation is in trouble. And so consequently, I dabbled in I worked with Men Crisis Pregnancy Center. I was on the board of directors there. So I was really involved in the pro-life effort. Then I volunteered at John 3:16 for many years, and still maintaining my presence in the Republican Party. Then we moved out of state for several years, and then not until I came back to Oklahoma did I start really getting involved in the Republican Party again. And so for the last 10 years, I've been involved at different levels: state committeeman, state or county chairman, and now I'm the vice chair of the Oklahoma Republican Party. And to answer your question specifically, why do I do what I'm doing? Because I feel like I don't feel like I know we have God-given liberties, and as American citizens, it's our responsibility to pass those down to our children and grandchildren, to our posterity. And I take that very seriously, as I would hope all Americans do that love this country. And so that's the reason I do what I do. Same as you. I know your heart. I know I've talked with you on several occasions and the efforts you've been involved in. And JJ, we have a country we have to save. And I've said this, and whenever I speak to groups, we're in a 1776 moment in this country. And if we don't get our act together, hey, we're not going to have, our children will not have the same opportunities we had.
Wayne, and that's why I wanted to have you on here, because I believe there's a lot of division in our Republican Party. But I know there are people like me and you, and I know we have the same heart. I know we have the same passion. I know we feel like this is a moment that if we don't do anything, and I don't just feel that way, if you can't see what's going on, that our systems, I mean, the Constitution has been hijacked, our liberties are being hijacked, our rights to bear arms are being hijacked right under our nose, and now they've stolen the legal system. And when you own the legal system, guess what? She's done. If we don't stand and take that legal system back, if Oklahoma don't stand up and say, hey, we're not going to recognize this BS going on with Donald Trump, that was a kangaroo court, that's a made up, that's trying to steal another election. You stole one, you're trying to steal another one, and guess what? We're not going to let you do it. If we don't do that, we're going to lose our country. I know that's where you're at, and that passion has been, this is not the moment you got that passion. You had that passion for the last several years, as I've shared that passion. I think COVID notched it up for me. When we saw the election stolen, it notched it up for me. I was already what they call radical. Now I'm just really crazy radical now. And so I know that. And Wayne, there may be areas that me and you disagree on, but what I want to do is us have a conversation today about what's going on in the party and get your opinion. And again, we can, I just want people to see what's the discussion, what's going on. And so Wayne, kind of explain to us there's a movement that I don't know if a lot of people, the Republicans out there, if you're involved in the convention, if you're involved to that level, you probably know what we're going to talk about. But grassroots, can you tell me what's your view of the grassroots movement that we're hearing about?
Thank you. So I agree with you. You can see that the federal government has been weaponized against the American people. And Donald Trump has said that the federal government's not really after him, they're after us. Absolutely. And so consequently, you can see it with Donald Trump, Roger Stone, General Flynn, with Bannon, and now I've heard that Alex Jones, and whether you like him or don't like him, that's the material. But the FBI apparently raided Alex Jones's studio this morning, is what I heard. And I don't know if that's rumor or if that's actually fact, but it doesn't matter. That you can see it. The evidence is clear. And also mothers that go to school board meetings, you see that the FBI is knocking on their door at various times. The FBI and Texas AG Paxton was on a program I was listening to this week, and he said the FBI has been weaponized against the American public. The FBI reports to Merrick Garland of the DOJ, and he says they ought to be dissolved and done away with. And this is one of the most powerful AGs in the nation, AG Paxton. So with that stated, so what is the role of the grassroots in the Oklahoma Republican Party, to answer your question?
Sure.
So I know that the Republican Party is one of the last venues that we have to save this nation. And you got to do it state by state. And so consequently, I firmly believe that the Republican Party must let the voter know whether they are following Republican values or not. And because, I believe in the 10th Amendment. I believe in state sovereignty, and that the states have more authority than the federal government. JJ, Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution gives the federal government 18 enumerated powers. We're way past. They have so overstepped their authority. And these states, they rely upon federal. Yes.
Wayne, worse than that. The problem is they've not only overstepped, but they're not doing the 18. The 18 they're supposed to do. One of the biggest things they're supposed to do is guard our border. Make sure we have a border. Guess what?
Yes,
failure. They're supposed to make sure that we have law and order. Guess what? Failure. If you want to go down the 18 that they're supposed to do, they get a big fat F. Now, if you want to go through communism and what communism is and how they're going to control you through the federal dollar, through tax dollars that you sent up there, and they're telling our states, and our states are letting them run us because of the almighty dollar. And that's what it all comes down to, Wayne.
Completely agree with that, JJ. I completely agree with that. I think we could even add more to that statement that you just made. We have a group of individuals that have taken over the federal government. They're Marxists, they're one world government people, and they are after the U.S. Constitution and our very way of life. And that's what I said earlier. We're in a 1776 moment. And so consequently, I firmly believe if our state legislatures and our state governors and our state AGs don't start taking authority back, then we are not going to have this God-blessed country that we've been given.
And Wayne, I fully believe, you're 1,000. The place you take it, the Bible says that before you go take the splinter out of the other guy's eye, pull the log out. Guess what? We can go logging right here in Oklahoma. Clean up our backyard. That's where you start. If God called you to Washington, good deal. I wish he'd have called a few more, because the ones we got up there, but except for a few, I will say there's a few up there I think stand up, but a very handful few. And I will tell you, in the state government, there's a very handful few of people who actually stand up, call it out. And those are made out just like they're made out at the Washington level. Those in the state that stand up, people call me, and I am radical. I'll happily admit radical. I'll happily admit crazy. I like crazy good. But here's the deal. They're going to write you off as somebody who, is too crazy to run anything. He can't be in a position. So again, you're never going to see me at the Capitol sitting up there in the speaker's seat, because guess what? They're going to think that you're too radical, too crazy. to have something like that or to be in a position of leadership. And Wayne, for me, it is time that we've got to start getting people who are not afraid to be labeled as crazy, who are not afraid to be labeled as anything. Right, wrong, do what's right, and move forward. And that
I agree with you.
I'll tell you, Wayne, that's really hard to do up there because by design, and that's what the Republican Party, I don't think, understands, that you've got people up there that are good people, but by design, they're being led down a road. Most of them don't want to call it out because they're scared they'll end up like me. But the thing about it is, when they design to have 60 bills a day, 60 or 70 a day, guess what? You can't tell what you're voting on. Especially if you're out working on other stuff. If you're actually somebody who works up there and you're trying to find money in agencies and trying to find corruption in agencies, you're over here working and you're trying to run in and look at these votes and look at these stuff. It's insane the way we're set up. We're set up to fail. That's what we're set up to. And it's by design. Don't think anything is not up there. But Wayne, on this grassroots, I think there's a movement. I feel like there's a movement of people like me and you who are sick of government, who are sick of people who say one thing, do the other. Now, one thing about me, Wayne, most people, everybody I meet practically says this to me. JJ, I don't agree with everything you say. And I'm like, well, boy, that's a smart thing, because if you agree with me, you're wrong 50% of the time, probably. But every one of them will come up. I don't agree with you, but JJ, you don't have to wonder where you stand or what you think, and you just call it out. Well, guess what? That's a big compliment to me, because I don't mind being wrong, but I don't want to be a liar, and I don't want to be somebody who is not transparent. We should have every bill that we have should be voted on when it's killed in committee. You ought to get to see what I do and how I vote 100%. And things shouldn't be killed in a back alley, dark alley. Man, we've had so many things that are what we're talking about, protecting our values, protecting this state. And guess what? Didn't even make it to the floor. Couldn't get. Wayne, we had a little difficult there. Welcome to Oklahoma. You must live in rural Oklahoma where I live. One of us.
I live in rural Oklahoma, the only place I want to live.
Yeah, me too. But it's quite funny. We got all these millions for broadband, and you're going to get that broadband by the year 2028 or so, when broadband no longer is needed. By the time me and you get broadband, they'll done and moved on to something else. What do you think, brother? That's quite funny. But we were talking about grassroots, and I think there are people who are sick of government and who are ready to stand up in the state of Oklahoma. Would you agree?
Completely agree. And first of all, I want to compliment you on your work on corruption in county government. I commend you because the swamp is thick, JJ, and it's not just at the state, it's at the county as well. And so, first of all, I want to compliment you.
Hey, I just got off phone right before me and you come on here about a police department stealing one of our grassroots movements people. So we got a person out there running. She's not the establishment person, and I think she's doing pretty good. But we get her in signs and they steal them. So we put a little tracking device on them, and guess what? They ended up down at PD. And so after they found out we had a tracking device, they come back well, that's okay. I'm glad we got our sign back, but we need to call out the BS. Hey, when the police are stealing them, it's against the law, and this is what we're talking about in government. It ain't in Washington, D.C. This is right here in
Yes,
Oklahoma.
it
We
is.
got ATF come in, raided some people. You hear Arkansas, that guy died. Guess what? Not Arkansas, here in Oklahoma. I'm trying to get them arrested. And we've got bureaucrats who are unelected bureaucrats who won't even, they act like they don't even answer to the legislature. So Wayne, I agree. We've got to take back our government. That's what's wrong in Washington, D.C. But as we were talking about earlier, God puts you where he wants you. And wherever God puts you, that's where you need to work. And so, you know what? God put me at the Capitol. I'm going to work at the Capitol while I'm there. I'm going to work diligently. I'm going to call out everything. If God wants me in a higher spot, I'd like him to tell me. But, if he does, I'm willing to do that. And if he wants me to go home, then I'll work and do what I need to at home. But where I'm sitting, Wayne, you tell me if I'm wrong. It looks like there's two grassroots movements going on in Oklahoma. And it looks like the Christian conservatives have a group of grassroots. And it looks like what I call the rebels, people like me. Now, I want everybody to know I used to drink every day, get in fights. If you look at me today, I got out in the pasture, asked the Lord, you want to know good drunk? Here I am. He changed me. So what y'all see today is actually the cleaned up version. I know that's hard to believe, but I am way cleaned up. So I'm a very Christian, fundamental Christian person who acts a whole lot like them rebel people. And that's why I get along on both sides so very well, because I stand on both sides of those corners, you know what I mean? And so, but it seems like that there are two factions, but I do believe they're agreeing on most parts, wouldn't you, Wayne?
They're agreeing on political positions, but as far as the Republican Party, there's infighting and within the Republican Party. There's no doubt about it. To answer your previous inquiry, you're talking about the grassroots and people are sick of what's going on in government, and you hit upon several topics: COVID, the FBI and Trump and all this, and people are waking up, and you see that going on within the Republican Party. And the Republican Party, the people that are active in the Republican Party have been called the fringe faction. Well, JJ, they are the Republican Party. They control the state committee, they control the state convention, and they showed up in force. And believe it or not, they're the ones that have been called the faction, the fringe faction. But right. They are the Oklahoma Republican Party. I would tell you, the Oklahoma Republican Party and the average Oklahoman is much more conservative than our state legislature is.
Oh, I agree. But here's the deal, Wayne. The problem is, how do we harness that, conservatism, harness that desire to see a government, and how do we get that to move what's up there? So here's what we got. We got a lot of people who claim, I call them RDs, they're Republican Democrats. So a lot of people call them rhinos. You know what you can call them: rhino Democrat, Republican Democrat. I just call them RDs. Here's the thing. They are in leadership. Have no doubt they are in leadership. And they control all the money. And you're getting in dark money. You're getting in Democrat money. They're going to take it. Anybody thinks the Republican Party ain't taking all that money, just go look at the accounts. They're flush with cash. Now, they're going to go out and pick like people. They're going out and picking people who will listen to them, and they're going out and paying for their campaigns. Well, guess what? When them people come to the Capitol, they're going to listen to some radical, crazy cowboy like me who's in trouble all the time, who can't even get a bill on the floor unless he's tricked. I get bills on the floor, but I either have to threaten or trick, or I have to leverage. There's all kinds of methods that I have to, pull the rabbit out of the hat to get done. And again, I don't get what their little cronies get, who get extra bills and who get anything they want. And so again, when they pay for your campaign and you come up there and they're offering you to get in a position What do you think those people are going to go? And that's what we're seeing. They control by money. They control by having lobbyists, take everybody out, do all the things. That's the control. How do we harness that energy of the Trump energy of people who want to see? Because here's what I see, Wayne. I see a lot of people who are passionate, who are fighting amongst themselves, and they're fighting passionately amongst themselves. And at the end of the day, guess what? It don't go no further. I don't see people out on campaign trail. I don't see people wearing T-shirts. I don't see us putting together a fundraiser. Yeah, we may not can bring the thousands, but how about we go back to the old days when you could show up and not be embarrassed to give $10, $100, whatever you got, that's what we need. We need to see Oklahoma take back the Capitol building. It belongs to the people, and we need to see these lobbyists. We need to see the RDs, and we need to see all of these out, and we can do it, but we can't do it while we're fighting, and we've got to unite, and we got to get out of, we got to get out on the campaign trail.
So one of the things that I'm going to refer to is the purging of the Platform Caucus in 2018, where dark money came in and worked with Republicans in order to purge the state house of conservative Republicans that would follow the Republican platform. And that's exactly what you're talking about. JJ, we're seeing the repercussions of that today. 6 years later, we're seeing the fruits of that labor that current legislators participated in to purge conservatives out of the legislature. Consequently, the Republican Party has become...
I was in that Platform Caucus, and they come to me and said, "We're not going to go after you." I was like, always laughing. Well, it's always good not to be go after, but they took out 14. They bragged and they laughed. They're in paper bragging about
New York Times. I have the article. And
yeah, they brag about it.
And they bragged about it. I think they even referred to them as a cancer in our
cut
party.
Out the cancer.
Yes, sir.
I asked them the other day what kind of cancer what kind of cancer is that? The never tax cancer.
We never addressed that as a party.
Out. Yeah.
JJ, we should have addressed that immediately as a party. You know what? I firmly believe the Republican Party should be a brand. And if you have an R behind your name, it should mean something. And what should it mean? It means you follow the U.S. Constitution. It means that you follow the party platform, because the party platform is the American people. I'm sorry, the Oklahoma people speaking. It is our white paper. And it's a good foundation in order for us to advocate what the Republican Party stands for.
Well, Wayne, I would go here. It's not too late, because I say, so what happened, the period of time you're talking happened. They took out 14 to 15 of our most conservative people. They used dark money, took them out, come out, and they made a deal. We're not going to do that no more. Well, now ain't that funny? But now the deal's off, and they're doing it again, and they're going after, guess who? They're going after conservative, the ones that you want up there, the ones that rural Oklahoma is talking about wanting up there. Guess what? That group is going after them, and they're going after our own. And here's what's funny, Wayne. If I went out and campaigned against any of our members, they'd say, "Hey, we're going to vote to get you out of the caucus because you're going against our own membership. You're going against the caucus." Yet they do it on the downside, and they do it with all kinds of money. And nobody calls them out because guess what? Oh, you got to track us down. You got to. So, Wayne, I think it's time to call out that behavior and say, if we find that behavior, because I'm going to guarantee you I'm pretty good at digging, and I've decided. I talked to some people the other day. I'm asking for a big group of us to get in the room and talk about what I think. There are people who know this and people who know that. And if we'd all get in the room together, we could solve and figure out how we prove and track this money back. And it may not be illegal, but if we can track it.
It is legal money, unfortunately. It is legal money.
I do know that, Wayne, but we can out them. We can out them and show the very people who set up there, "Oh, you can't campaign against our own. Oh, JJ, you can't do this." Guess what? That's the people who are doing it. And if we would show it, Wayne, we could show the public.
So, JJ, let me address exactly what you said. Unfortunately, the Republican Party has been run by the ruling class. Consequently, what have they done? They've been cheerleaders for the ruling class. Anybody with an R behind your name, they cheerlead for. And you can see the consequences of it and who is actually in the Republican Party and who's in places of authority. So consequently, and I believe there are many grassroots people that believe this, and we believe the Republican Party should be protecting of the Republican brand and the Republican name. And that's what the Republican Party should be doing, is exposing this nonsense that's going on within our party, because what it does, it dilutes us. It makes us no better than the Democratic Party as far as what we stand for. If you are a Republican, you need to stand for these principles, the Constitution and our platform. And if you don't, you need to be exposed. And if you still legislate that way or govern that way, you need to be primaried. And I want to say it, that is political adultery, what I just stated, coming from the vice chair of the Republican Party. But you need to be primaried if you have a voting record in the 20s, 30s, 40s from the Oklahoma Constitution or OK2A or Oklahoma Health and Parental Rights. Then you need to be primaried. And we as a party, that's where you went. That's where the primary is, where you actually select the person of principle. It's not in the general, it's in the primary. If you're in Oklahoma and you're a Republican, because the liberal Republican will make it through the primary because of dark money, then you don't have an option. In the primary, you have an option.
Well, here's the deal, Wayne, and there's where me and you are in agreement. But now I will tell you, on the survey, I disagree with you on the survey. We got to find. Here's what I'm saying, and I'm gonna use our good friend. Me and you both know, Don Spencer. Don has developed, and man, I know you respect him. I know he respects you, and I respect Don. And in fact, he just gave me an award the other day. I put out on Facebook, and again, he'd come to me. I'd had a vote that I differed with him on. I think after he saw some of the things that happened, he understood, but still kind of dinged me a little bit. And I'm okay with that, because I understand where he's coming, but we can have that conversation, and I can have this conversation with you because I respect you. I know your heart's good. I know you're right. And we agree. We 1000% agree, but we've got to find a way, because again, they put so many votes that are just impossible to keep up with. And we've got to find a way to say, here are the key votes. Here's the deal. If you want to talk about abortion, if you want to talk about protecting life, I don't think there's anybody up there more passionate, more vocal, ready to fight to protect unborn children. I've actually introduced bills to make it murder, period. That's the way it ought to be. It's in there. If you scratched out about one line out of our murder language that says, with the exception of abortion, if you just scratch that out, guess what? Problem solved. That's what we ought to do. I've run that bill multiple times and had it killed. Whether we're talking about your right to choose whether you wear a mask, whether you get vaccinated, your medical, whether you can be treated, and why. In fact, I'm doing an interim study, working with the group, see if we can file charges on people who actually, I believe, let people die on purpose to get money. We'll see if that can transpire. It may be harder, but we're working on that. We're trying to prove those things. And so I know me and you are on the same page as that, but on that, I think that we need to get together and develop a real survey that says this is how, that we can all agree on, that everybody can agree on, so people can get behind it. Kind of like OK2A, when he does that survey, people understand, nope, here it is. We all agree. And if you got somebody who's an F and they get primaried, we're going to say, well, on the fact of OK2A's sheet, and a lot of people think OK2A shouldn't go off on other things other than guns.
No.
I disagree with them because
they're a liberty organization.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Listen, and here's the deal. Me and Don had a disagreement on the judge deal, and I think a lot of people didn't get to see the back page of what was going on that and everything. But at the end of the day, I totally agree with Don being involved in it, because guess what? We're getting bad rulings in the court, just like on protecting babies. We're getting bad rulings on the court. We all agree on that. We should be able to sit down and discuss, how do we fix it? I disagree on the fix. I think by what we were trying to do made a bigger problem than if here's the problem and nobody wants to say it. The problem is the bar. The bar is the problem. Let's kick the bar, excuse the French. Let's kick the bar the hell out of the process. Hey, how about better? How about we just do away with the bar and create another organization that reflects Oklahoma and the values of Oklahoma, and let's start all over right there. So that's my heart. I'll get up. Very few people will get up and say that because they'll get attacked. I don't care. That's the truth. That's what we ought to do. And so we ought to be able to have that conversation. You know,
JJ, I'm always willing to have that conversation. Matter of fact, I've made that offer to several legislators. I said, give me your feedback. Let's work together because, JJ, I want individuals like yourself, Danny Williams, Neil Hayes, Sherry Conley. I want these people. These are the kind of people that I want to see govern in our state. And I've made this offer to them. Actually, not only extend it to you, I've not talked to you about this. You know, I know you get ostracized, you get bifurcated by the leadership, and there are bills, great bills, that never see the light of day because they won't let them go into or out of committee, or they will kill those bills. I would love to have your 5 best bills, that constitutional bills, to say, hey, these never saw the light of day because leadership would not let us vote on them. And we want to broadcast that across the state and say, this is the type of leadership we have in Oklahoma, folks. That's why Oklahoma is not a conservative state.
Wayne, I'm fixing to start putting out videos on just what you said, and not just mine. I'm gonna start on all of them. I'm gonna call it Capitol Exposed. I'm gonna make them about 30-second videos on, you know, whether it's the 30-30 land grab that they wouldn't let us try to stop Biden. Neil Hayes ran that. Tom Ginn, both stand up people.
Oh, yes.
You know, I ran a bill to stop anybody from being on any higher education, technology, or common education that is not a U.S. citizen. We know there's an effort by China to get people on these boards.
Yes.
I ran that. You would think simple as all get out. Nope, can't run that. And I got bill after bill like those that people are going to go, what is going on? Why would our trying to stop porno? Here's the deal. I didn't try to stop porno in school. Why should it just be in school? It should be a law that you can't give a kid, you know, lewd and lascivious. You can't talk to a kid in a lewd and lascivious way. It's a charge. But you can handle a book that's lewd and lascivious, no problem. Worse than what
JJ, I was in Ponca City yesterday, and they were having drag queen performances. We were protesting it there, and they were interacting with these small children. What they were doing was they were indoctrinating these children into alternative lifestyles. But this is happening in Ponca City, Bartlesville, Stillwater, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. It's happening in rural Oklahoma now, JJ. Why isn't this legislature, if we have such a conservative legislature, why aren't they stopping this nonsense?
Absolutely.
This is nonsense,
I agree
JJ.
with you. And it's time to call them out. It's time to
let's
start putting together videos. I'm going to show the state how to do it. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have a laugh. I'm going to make it fun, and I'm going to call them out. They're going to get mad as hell, and I don't care. I'm going to call them out 30 seconds at a time on everything you're talking about. Make a video, Wayne, next time you're at one of those deals, make a video. We'll make a 30-second video. Tell the Republican Party, tell the whole state what's going on when this is happening. Wayne, every college we got, I called out the OU president, called him pervert and said he needed to be fired. That's my G-rated when I actually said that to the news media. I didn't think they'd quote me on exactly what I said, but they were pretty dead on. I can't deny that's exactly what I said. And so, anyways, they come out. I kind of got tickled by it, but somebody called me and said, "Well, why are you going after OU? OSU's got the same. It is. It's Crimson and Queen at OU. It's called the Dragonfly at OSU." And then I got this curiosity just got the better part of me. So I went and pulled southeastern Oklahoma. Down here in southeastern Oklahoma, son, guess what? Don't go ask the question unless you want a naughty, ugly answer. You know what I mean? It's everywhere, Wayne. Why are we funding? And OU come back. I laughed. I nailed them. Oh, we're not funding that. I said, well, let me ask y'all a question. I pulled that up on your webpage right there. I said, who pays for that web page? I said, because somebody had to design that web page. Somebody has to keep that web page up. It's being put on your computers. It's being put on your network. And that means y'all back it. So
state government controls the purse, JJ.
I agree.
They
I agree.
control
And
the
why?
purse. Why are we tolerating this evil amongst in our society? And even college age kids, they're still influenced kids. They're kids, they're coming right out of high school, and they're still, state government should oppose this.
Well, I don't
Whenever
care
you
if you're 60 years
institutionalize
old.
evil, hey, that's why, JJ, I'm a Christian also. God will judge us by what we allow our government to do.
I agree. It's taking it back. But here's the deal. I don't care if you're 60 years old. You can be an adult. I still don't, as a taxpayer, I don't want my tax dollars going. You know, if you want to be a pervert, go be a pervert down the street. Go to the bar and be a pervert. You want to be queer, go be queer. That's your business. That's called a life choice. I don't put my business, that's where I'm at. I don't put my business out on the street. And if you don't like me talking about your business, keep it at home, keep it off the street, you know?
Yes, sir. I'm right there with you.
That rainbow is a promise. There ain't no pride. The reason the rainbow
exactly
had to be
correct.
They
have hijacked the rainbow. No doubt about it.
We're on the same page. But let me ask you this. We definitely got some division in ours, and this is what I see. So I know that our grassroots has a little division, but I see our grassroots. This is what I think. I don't think there's enough division in the grassroots. I think on the key things in the grassroots, we're all pretty, but we're on the same page. We might have a little bit, one might sing a little higher than the other, but we're all on the same page on that. But on the establishment kind of views the grassroots as being plumb rabbit butt crazy, lost their mind, going to crash and burn, and, you know, basically out of control. And so how do we get, because I know there's some good establishment people. There are some good establishment people. But how do we unite the party? What's your plans on, let me look. I've got to look and see. We still got a little time. Me and you, we probably could go on all day. I got to keep an eye on it to make sure. Yeah, because time's flying. We're in pretty good discussion. What can we do to try to bring the you know, some unity, some you know, where it's not such a out of control fighting. That's what I heard a lot of people talking about at the convention, was that it was out of control and that people were just you know, that it was shambles and all that. I wasn't there. And I will tell you this, Wayne, I don't mind coming to the party. If we'll get the party fixed, I just tell you this right up front. The Republican Party, the state Republican Party, has not got out and gathered money. They've let the Republican, that Rhino group that we're talking about, they've let them hijack all the money. And therefore, even the legitimate money is going to them. So I don't get any help from the state party. I don't get any money from the state party. I don't get people coming down and helping me campaign. I don't get people helping me on the bills. Guess what? If we want to get involved, we ought to be up at Capitol telling all those guys that are burying them bills, we're going to out your sorry butts. That's what's going to happen, you know. But we're not seeing anything on that level. So how do we unite and get them involved in the whole process?
Yeah, so first of all, the Republican Party has been run by the establishment. This is the first time that the grassroots has learned the rules, and they're starting to apply the rules, and people are responding. So what you say as far as division within the Republican Party at the convention is way overblown. Matter of fact, the convention was run very smoothly, and the grassroots could control, and they got just about everything that they went after at the convention. I've never seen that before and I've been to conventions since the 80s. Let me say this. In our party, Rule 5, 6, and 10 tell who the supreme authorities are. At the county or precinct level, the supreme authority is the precinct. At the county level, the county committee is the supreme authority. At the state level, the state committee and the state convention are the supreme authority. The chairman and the vice chairman serve at their pleasure. Whenever those bodies meet, it is the job of the chairman and the vice chairman to follow their direction and also all the resolutions. You are seeing the state committee pass resolutions, and they're bringing unity to the body. Matter of fact, the grassroots controls the state convention, and they control the state committee. And now what we have to do is we have to make sure that our leadership, our chairman and our vice chairman, they follow the guidance of the state committee. And what they did was they censured Langford, they censured Leslie Osborne. We've had like 25 resolutions passed. The one on Langford went nationwide, and all the national media picked it up. And that was where he was negotiating with Chucky Schumer in our border. And the state committee was right on. And I firmly believe we made a national impact, and we actually influenced Langford and had him back down. He started backpedaling the next day. So the Republican Party has teeth if we'll learn how to use it, JJ.
Well, I agree. I think it's time to start calling out all the leaders, whether it's being pro tem. Let me tell you something. If you want to look at pro tem, if you want to look at the pro tem elect, oh my gosh, let's look at pro tem elect right now. Why are we not calling him out while it is election time?
Well, we are.
We're going to let that sorry son-buck get right back up there. He's the biggest puke in the whole land.
He has the worst voting record in the whole Senate, JJ.
In the whole place. I mean, listen.
Why are they putting him in leadership, JJ? I don't get it. Why isn't Bullard? Why aren't they putting Bullard in leadership? But that's what they do is the way they manipulate the leadership does.
But here's the deal. We can't just sit up here and say, well, we don't like him. What we need are people who will go down and say, okay, look what he did on the police here. He's claiming to be solid on the police. Let's look at what he voted on the police. Let's look at what bill he killed over here. Let's look at this bill he killed over here. And we need to be able to come out with a document that says, do you really want this guy? And it should have the backing. That's the deal. When the Republican Party gets united and they start doing what we're talking about doing, just like on Langford, what you're talking about, I 100% agree. I think it did have impact on Langford. And the deal is, I publicly went out and stated how I feel way before that. I actually publicly went out when here's the deal. When you go out and say our election's been stolen, and when you stop the election from being certified because you come out and claim that you have evidence that our election's been stolen, and then guess what? You're having a hearing on January 6th. I don't know that most people really realize what they were doing in there was looking at that election. Now, do you think it's a coincidence, a quinky dink, that all this disruption happens at the same time? What's the likelihood of that? Not very likely. And so again, for him to walk back in and say, hey, because of a disturbance, now I know a person got killed, by the way, never got investigated. If that'd been us, they'd had us all over. But here's the thing. They come back in and Langford walks back in and says, I'm going to withdraw. Well, here's where I'm at. If you had evidence, you either was lying about having evidence, and if you did, then you're treason, or you're lying about, or, you're backing up. Either way, you committed treason right there. Never changed my opinion on that. He's treasonous. What he did on the border, treasonous. How he voted the last time on the judge, treasonous. And again, I got zero use. And I go out publicly. I tell him to his face, I just got through.
JJ, the Republican Party ought to be taking that stand and broadcasting that across the state. Let's go back to McCourtney. McCourtney authored a bill to track vaccine data in children. He authored a bill to force businesses to advertise vaccines. He wanted parents to take a re-education class if they opted out of even one single vaccine dose for their children. He voted to remove personal and religious vaccine exemptions for children. He voted not to ban state government vaccine mandates. I was in the medical industry. I sold vaccines. There was never data. That vaccine was never put in humans before it was introduced to the market. There was never safety data that was actually conducted for adults or children. And you're going to put it in minor children and children that weren't even susceptible to COVID. This man has no idea what he's doing. This
Well,
and we have, and let me say this, we have a team down there right now that's campaigning against McCourtney. They're going door to door. They are fundraising. They are working against this man. This man we need to make sure this man doesn't get in a leadership position.
Wayne, let me
And you know
ask
what?
you.
Again, there's going to be a lot of Republicans that come down on me because I'm not supporting an incumbent. I'm sorry. I'm not here to support incumbents. I'm here to save our nation. And the way we do it is by putting the right people in office.
Well, here's the deal, Wayne. I'm not one of
So
those.
I'm a radical too, JJ.
Yeah, I'm not one coming down on you. What I'm saying is we need to have just what you lined out right there. When we come down on somebody, we need to have why we're coming down. Here's why we're doing this. But let me ask you this, Wayne. Everything you're mentioning is something that sparks in my brain. How in the world does a man who's a pharmacist, owns a pharmacy company, run bills all medically related? I know Terry O'Donnell just got grand juried and went through a mess on that he did before he actually even owned the company. And now we got a guy, and Wayne, I know it's going to shock you, but he ain't the only one. I can name you 3 or 4 others that have ties to all those medical. And guess what? They're running all these medical. If you want to look up, go look at who's running all the medical, and I'll kiss you, honey. Give you 10 o'clock to draw a crowd right there on the Capitol building. Guess what? If they're not tied to medical. Now, how's that work?
Pfizer dollars, JJ. They're getting Pfizer dollars. One way or another, they're getting Pfizer dollars. Hey, I'll go head to head with McCourtney on the vaccine. I sold vaccines. I worked in the medical industry for 40 years. What he has proposed, he should know better. Being a pharmacist, he should know better. If I were to go into his pharmacy and say there's a drug rack, and I would go into his pharmacy and I say, hey, I want you to advocate for a vaccine that's never been in humans before, he would kick me out the door and say, don't ever come into my pharmacy again. That's the way it should have been. That's the way it should be. And I can tell you, most doctors before the vaccine would have told you that.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. And here's what's funny, Wayne. You said something, how people go after you for openly doing this, but yet we had a conversation a while ago how our own party behind the scene does exactly the same thing. They're doing exactly the same thing. They're funneling big money into who they want. They're funding big money into getting the Republican Democrats, I call them, the fence riders. And here's the deal. Let's get the whole deal out right here. State chamber, the medical profession, your energy professions, all these lobbyists up there. And let's not say the ag. One people think leave out, man, the ag industry is huge. They want to take your food. They want to take your ability to grow food. Oklahoma is a food producer, whether it be ranching, whether it be farming, whether it be, and we've lost our chickens to commercial. We can get it back. We can get it back because we've got the area, we've got the product, we've got the consumer. All we got to do is take it back. We just build our own table. We build our own market. They got the market, but they ain't got the products and the consumer. We could get the product back. They do have the product of chicken and pork. But again, that's the deal. All these big monies, these people that we're talking about are dancing to big money. And big money walks in there. We don't want that bill. We don't want that bill. We're going to push woke, 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 woke. We're going to push climate control, climate control. We're going to push all these things that the Republican people out, the conservative Oklahomans are saying we don't want, the things that Trump is fighting, the things that you ought to be fighting. And again, if you call them out, they're going to go after you like gangbusters. Hey, 2 weeks ago, I got threatened to be arrested. 3 weeks ago, I got 2 bomb threats, including one that called my wife out personally by name. I mean, if people don't think it's nasty, come get you some. And it is nasty. I told them, I said, hey, I don't care. I went and got 2 bondsmen 3 years ago because I kind of anticipated. I told them, you arrest me, you'll make me the Donald Trump of Oklahoma. Best press conference I ever had will be right out there on the steps of jail. Get her done, you know. And that's the way I feel. But Wayne, we got to get together, and we've got it. I think the establishment, I think they're good people. are you and Dom still talking at all? Do y'all talk?
Well, actually, I reached out to him a few weeks ago, and we set up a meeting between three legislators and a mediator. And the meeting went really well. And Nathan and I followed up with a phone conversation. This was before the convention, and we had committed to be talking to one another. Now, we've not done that since the convention, but I think the door is still open for us to be talking. And let me say this about Nathan Dahm. Nathan Dahm is probably one of the best state senators Oklahoma's had. He has a stellar voting record, and I respect him as a state senator. I respect him so much.
Yeah,
And
I don't, Wayne, I don't call him. I know that he's establishment, as far as rules and how that runs, but Nathan's probably the least established. You want to talk about, in fact, if it was a race between me and Nathan, who gets craziest at the Capitol, I might even have to take a back seat, told Nathan. I don't know. I think I've given him a pretty good run for his money this year. But you know what I'm saying? He ain't scared. He'll stand up, and
I
he
agree
has
with
stood
you.
up, and he's got a better voting record than I do. He's probably got the best voting record of anybody up there.
Well, the Oklahoma Constitution, he has like a 97% voting record, lifetime voting record. And the reason he has a 97 is because this current year, with his baby being in the hospital, he missed several votes. So,
well,
Nathan has
for
a
me,
stellar
Wayne,
voting
I'm
record.
sitting outside. I've really reached it. Here's what's funny. They control the vote. You don't get to vote on anything that they don't want, and they already know it's passed before. So while people may not like to hear me say this, I think the voting deal up there is a joke. And so I spend a majority of my time working on finding corruption, money, and if people ain't seen that on me, man, I am busting them I'm fixing to come out on OMMA. I got another deal I'm working on turnpikes that will be huge. We've already filed stuff with turnpikes. I'm filing lawsuits, not me filing, but I'm doing the investigations that are resulting in multiple lawsuits against the government. I'm working on one right now to sue the entire government of Oklahoma because, again, that's how I believe we make radical change, and that's what I'm good at. You know what I'm saying? That's where I see my skills being better. So a lot of times I've missed votes this year because I'm out there talking to a whistleblower and I run in. I've been sitting on the floor and missed votes because I'm sitting there writing something or looking something up and I'm just not even listening to them. And, so again, I think that we've got to look at what does that person really stand for, and does their actions, that's what we got to look at, Wayne. Does their actions line up with what they say? And, I'll give you a good example. We had a bill Thursday before we left. I can't remember whether it's House Bill or Senate Bill 1122, but basically it was a decent bill. And what they did, they hijacked
Senate Joint Resolution 1122. Yes, sir.
They hijacked it and they went in there and put a censor, and they're trying to shut Ryan Walters down on censoring him and taking his money. And I laughed.
I saw how you voted. I've got the voting record right in front of me, JJ.
Oh, golly, Wayne, you need to go get the tape. I come in there and I was like, I want to make a motion. Now, any other time, they'll let a Democrat make a motion and they'll recognize them. Wouldn't recognize me because they knew I was fixing to bring their house down. And they didn't know what I was going to do because I was already asking the parliamentarian, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Oh, no. All right, I'm a creative individual. I'll think of something. So I walk in there and I finally, they wouldn't recognize me. I get in the queue. They won't call on me. They finally had to call on me. And I go, I'm going to make a proper motion. I'm going to make a motion, sine die. Oh, I laughed. I mean, the whole place just about fell out of their chair. And again, there's the opportunity to kill that bill. I think 7 people, and I understand that's pretty radical. You don't get much more radical than that. And I got accused of trying to hijack the process. Let me tell everybody, I did try to hijack the process. I will plead guilty to it, absolutely 100%, because they hijacked the process. They come back and ask me, well, Representative Humphrey, do you realize that we're not going to be able to give this money and this money? And I said, hey, do you realize you've not made me one part? I represent people from southeastern Oklahoma. I've not had one voice. I'm on your budget committee. I have not had one voice. I've asked everybody in here, have they had anything to do with this budget? I hadn't run into one person that said, yes, I've had one thing in that budget. Not one person. And again, you got 3 or 4 people coming out. This is going to be your budget. And so again, I told them, heck yeah, I'm fine with that, you know. And then I made a point that they can't modify something. Then somebody comes back and asks to modify. That gets a little slippery slope. But again, I laughed. I poured it on. Well, y'all saying you're speaking with the forked tongues, what you're saying. And they didn't like it. And even during debate, Wayne, they kept shutting me down when I was going back over what here's the previous one did this. Where were y'all when she's breaking the law and when she's pushing transgender down on us, when she's doing all of these things? Where have y'all been? And now, and let's even look at that. They're griping about Ryan spending $50,000 or something.
$50,000, JJ.
Right.
$50,000 is a drop in the bucket.
She had roughly, now we'd have to go back and check, 16 communication people. Those communication people, you can check, they generally earn about 100,000 or more. If you had 16, that's 1.6. You ain't even talking about benefits. You ain't even talking about all that. You're talking about at least $2 million. So she's spending $2 million. He's spending 50. Who's committing the crime? Who's abusing the dollar and the trust of the Oklahoma people?
JJ, it's very similar to Trump. These are false charges. It's just a weapon they use, and they create a weapon in order to come against someone because they disagree with them in policy. And let me say up front, I completely support Ryan Walters. And folks, if you're listening out here, please call the governor, ask him to veto sections 15 and 16 of 1122, or veto the whole bill. Just veto the whole thing. But anyway,
right.
We're asking
but
you
for
to still
sure
make
16,
these phone calls.
Yeah, do the 16. 1,000% 15 to 16. For sure, 16 has got to go, Governor.
Yes,
if you know,
please,
call the governor.
Please call. Please email
absolutely.
the governor. Please.
But I laughed during that debate. Oh no, we're shutting you. JJ, stay on the bill. Well, hold on, y'all made conduct. And here's what's funny. I called old joyless Hofschaster. You know, they come after me. Like you wouldn't believe. I was laughing, turned off my mic. I'm sitting over there telling no boy, I got no respect for you. I got no respect for you. And again, he's tongue lashing me. But they can call Ryan Walters saying he has no integrity, and they got an argument whether he actually said that. Well, if he didn't use the word, he might as well have. He talked about his character. He impugned his character, and then I come out and name one thing. And so I start going down through that list, and they were like, oh, JJ, you can get on the bill. I'm like, he made character the bill. I'm going to talk about character. You shut up and quit censoring me. And then they kept threatening. And again, when you get cut off like that, they're trying to disrupt you is what they're trying to do. You're making a good point, and you're telling people stuff. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know she did this. Wow, I didn't know she did this. Like campaigning for governor on her own state company with their own state computers, with their state employees, all very illegal, busted her on it, sent it to everybody. Nobody went. Guess what? You sure didn't hear from Mark McBride on that. And I put that out in the newspaper. I guess they don't read up there. I don't know. But the thing about it is, guess what? Nothing. And kept trying to shut me down. And I called them out. You're trying this
McBride's
bill.
An ally, JJ. McBride's an ally. He has the same goals as Hofmeister.
Oh, absolutely.
Shut Ryan Walters down.
I'm gonna tell you something. If you didn't know better, he acted like they were schoolmates or like they were romance, high school sweethearts or something. The way he got mad. I mean, I didn't. Again, if you call her Joyless Hofschaster, he'd turn around and say, "I don't appreciate you calling her that." I would have said, I really don't care what you appreciate because, Mark, I got no respect on what you care. Look what you're doing right here. Here's something else, Wayne. I have turned over so that everybody knows what we're talking about. I've turned over rape evidence, not a witch hunt, not a look in, hide and go seek, let me subpoena something to try to find something. I've turned over the evidence and asked for more subpoenas on rape, murder, extortion, all kinds of things. On embezzlement, on whether you had proper training and whether you falsified records on that, which I think I could prove. Guess what? I can't get a subpoena. One, they will not subpoena. They will not allow me to use my subpoena power, but yet they'll go after. In fact, Wayne, I think they issued another subpoena on Ryan Thursday. And again, that's our own administration. So, Wayne, here's the deal.
McCall was a part of that. JJ, if I'm not mistaken, McCall was.
You know, I told McCall, I went in the other day and told McCall, me and him are homeboys, and it makes it tough to me to go against my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? But I told him I'd been G-rated because of him, and that I'm now coming out XXX. And I am going to tell you my little videos that I'm putting out. Again, I'm not going to name them by person, but I think people after they watch my videos are going to have to start going, who's responsible for that? And guess what? We're going to have to get down to having a conversation. Why is this going on? Who's responsible? And the biggest question, how do we fix it? And so, Wayne, one of the biggest things that I think we're a little bit over, and I want to get one little thing before we leave. I just want to know, what is your, what are you going to do? And I know you said you're working on, you had some meetings, mediation. What else are you going to do to try to unite our party?
Well, first of all, the party has to start living by the rules, and that means following the state committee's direction. And once that's ironed out, then I believe all these issues will be fixed. I mean, that they are the governing authority of our party. I answer to them. Nathan Dahm answers to them. So that must be fixed before that's resolved.
So your answer is government by the people ought to be ran by the people. And
that's exactly right. Just like our Constitution, yes, just like it says in the Declaration of Independence, governed by the consent of the governed. And let me say this as we're closing. You know, we are in a 1776 moment. Just think about those delegates whenever they went up and signed that Declaration of Independence, what they were doing. They were actually getting ready to commit, according to King George, treason against Great Britain. So John Hancock signs it twice as large. It is said that he stated that now the king doesn't need spectacles to see my signature. He can actually double the bounty on my head. JJ, we must be John Hancocks. We must start standing up. And the last few words of the Declaration of Independence, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. This is where we must start coming from as patriotic Americans.